Commissioner Mays, Commissioner Foster, Commissioner Vandegrift, Commissioner Val,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Commissioner Wells,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Beauchamp,
Here.
and Commissioner Smallridge.
Here. Well, we have a quorum, just,
That's odd.
so, and I think, I was just gonna say Shelley will be here in a minute. If I can ask Commissioner Val to lead us in the prayer, and then Commissioner White will lead us in the pledge.
Heavenly Father, we come to you again to give you honor and praise, to thank you for saving us, to thank you for being so good to us, to thank you, Lord, for guiding us when we'll allow you to do so. Lord, everything that you've added unto us, please forgive us of our sins, times, Father, and when we don't acknowledge you in every parts of our lives. Lord, when we don't thank you enough for what you do for us each and every day. Thank you, Father, for giving us the opportunity to represent your people. We pray, Lord, as we go into this meeting, that you would give us discernment, that you would guide us, Father, in ways that you would have us to go. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
The world today is recognizing D-Day. I'm thankful for and appreciative of what took place. So as we think about that, let's salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We can go ahead and approve the agenda. I think we have a few additions to add to our agenda under new business.
Yes.
Bobby, do you want to?
Yeah, we have 5 new budget amendments that to add under new business, if it's okay with you all.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with the additions.
Second.
Second motion. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. Motion carries.
Commissioner Smallridge, before we start in the budget agenda, we need to have the public hearing
Yes.
for that.
Yeah, I don't see any, there may be. Are there any citizens out there who would like to speak on the fiscal year 2025 budget as proposed? If so, please come to the podium, give your name and address, and you'll have up to 3 minutes for your comments. Anyone that would like to speak on the budget, proposed budget? Okay, seeing none, I guess we can close the public hearing. And we'll go on to public, financial reports, I guess, Robbie.
Thank you. Cash and fund balance report ending May of 24. The general fund, restricted funds 1.4 million, committed 1.2 million, assigned funds 4.1 million, unassigned fund balance are 10,065,680, total fund balance 16,805,785, and cash was 22,130,901 ending May, which was up some from last May, about 2 million. School cash 12,243,412. Fund balance 8.5 million. Any questions on the fund balance report?
Guess not. Go ahead, Robbie.
Okay. Sales tax this month, April, we were up 3.6%. The county as a whole, 4,443,915, and the Anderson County portion 508,342, which was down a little from last April, but still doing well in the sales tax, in my opinion.
Any questions?
Robbie, we're still above our budget, though.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Go on to the ARPA projects.
The ARPA projects still has 1,188,684 total available. Again, these funds have to be obligated by December 31st, 24 with either a PO or a contract, and spent 12/31/2026. So,
Questions, comments?
and the last
Bobby,
thing is the
are they-
grant. I'm sorry.
Are those remaining funds pretty flexible in terms of how we can use them?
I think we can spend them any way. They're non-revenue
Good, okay.
or revenue loss. Sorry.
Anything else?
Grant inventory for Anderson County. We've added 3 new grants highlighted in yellow at the bottom to the grant inventory list this year. So,
Got any questions? Okay, thank you, Robbie. Let's go ahead with our individual items.
on the consent agenda, I have 1 through 15 on here. Number 12, I'm going to pull out because it should have been in the transfers. It should be a transfer by payroll, so I will take it later. But 1 through 11, and then 13, 14, and 15 on transfers, not requiring commission approval.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any questions? Okay. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, a like sign. Motion carries. Okay, Bobby?
Okay, and since I put number 12 in there, I'll go ahead and do it. It is an appropriation from the animal shelter out of part-time help, $15,000 to moving to rabies and animal control, other contracted services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Questions, discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, 16 through 26 are from the school department. Appropriations and transfers, seeking approval of the group. Can I answer any questions? And Marcus is also here from the school department.
Motion to approve as a group.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Number 27 is an appropriation from fleet services for $4,000, increasing revenue by the same amount.
Motion to approve.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay. That as a group, right?
There's just one of those.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 28 is from the highway department. It is an appropriation from restricted for highway for $20,011.92, increasing trustees commission, $15,000 disposal fees, and uniforms.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Number 29 is from solid waste for $55,000 from restricted for public health and welfare to landfill operations and maintenance contracts with private agencies. And Jeff has provided a very detailed description on the next page if you.
Okay,
Move to approve.
Second.
second. Second, we had a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Robbie, if you would, take a minute and run over that for me. Please.
Mr. Travolta answer
I didn't see you sitting back there, I'm sorry.
So, Commissioner White, when we did the budget for this year, we had not finalized the contract with the landfill at that time. We went into mid-August before that was approved. So at the point in time we did the budget, we had no idea what our cost would be or what our revenue from the host fee would be. So we left it at the previous year's budget. That was inadequate for that year because we had a tonnage increase and a big CPI increase. So even though we had budgeted 835, that year we wound up at 881,000. And so if we started off in the hole basically. And the reason that I left it the way it was 2 years ago, we actually had a 1,200 ton decrease in what went into the landfill. So we've been bouncing back and forth every 2 to 3 years of decreases and then increases and then decreases. So I was going to wait until we saw whether we were going to have any decrease this year. But we're right on schedule for what we did last year. So,
Thanks, sir.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you've heard, I guess we don't have a motion yet.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. All right. Any questions or on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Number 30 is from the library, Clinton Library, for $2,500 from restricted reserve, increasing utilities.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. 31 is from tourism. It is increasing revenue for the hotel motel tax, $22,000, and increasing the chamber contribution, $20,000, and trustees commission, $2,000.
Have a motion?
This is all increases.
Yes. What's happened is, I mean, they're doing better in the hotel motel tax. Right now, we're at $490,334 with 2 more months to collect, which will put us right around the projected $620 that she's asking for. And the chamber, anything we collect for the hotel motel, the chamber gets 10%. So we have to increase that line item as well to pay that out to the chamber. And then the trustees commission, the revenue that's collected, that goes, if more revenue is collected, then their cost goes up
So
as
this
well.
$20,000 to the chamber is new money?
It will be, it's just money collected off the hotel motel tax, yes, sir. It's around $60,000 we're paying them out of the 128 fund this last year and this year too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Question, I'll second for discussion. What happens if this motion is not approved?
We would still have to pay it. I mean, it's the private act, the law in the private act that chamber gets the 10%, and that code would just go in the red. But she has enough money in her budget. If it wasn't approved, it wouldn't matter as far as an audit finding, but it would put that code in the red, both of those codes.
So we gotta pay it regardless.
Yeah, we have to pay it. It's
Okay.
like a utility. I mean,
Yes.
So what do we need to do to stop this? I don't see the need for us giving $20,000 to the Chamber of Commerce out of tax money that could go directly to the citizens.
you would have to change the private act.
Okay, so if we vote no on this today, you said it can still go through, we can get the private act, potentially we can bring that up and hopefully try to change that next month and not have to give this money out, or am I getting ahead of myself on this?
Well, I would probably need Jay's opinion on that. The mayor may have
Okay.
more than me about as far as how the private act goes. I mean, that's been years ago.
I don't have the law in front of me, but the legislature did change in 2021 where you no longer have to meet the bar of a change to a private act to be able to go under the general law. And so if commission wanted to do that and go under the general law for tourism, you just would do, you would have the law director draw up that resolution and vote on it, and you would need 9 votes to change that. And then you would, at that point, then all of the terms of that private act go away.
Okay.
I mean, you still have your collection of the hotel motel.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Mayor. So I'll be voting no on this one, Mr. Chairman, just to put that on the record. Thank you.
Other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I got in there late. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand where Commissioner Wells is going with that, and I certainly, as we move further down that road, I will be in full support of looking for a change for this. I'm gonna go ahead and vote for it today, And the reason I'm gonna vote for it today is I think this committee especially, and full commission as well, but I think this committee especially has been very fair with different budgets and what their purposes were for the funds that have been allocated to them. And I would expect that fairness to be returned when this committee looks at their fund balance in each one for other purposes in the future. Certainly, I can remember when some of these funds were used to help with the budget. I think it was last year or year before last when we did that. So I'm going to go ahead and vote for it today with full support of where Commissioner Wells is wanting to go with this, with the full understanding that we may be looking at this account for future assistance to other departments as we did before. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion, comments?
I will say this too, just because we're increasing this 20 doesn't mean that the chamber will receive the whole 20,000. We're just increasing that budget code 20 in case, if needed. They only get 10% of what's collected of the hotel motel tax. So if we don't collect that much, then they don't get that much.
So it may not be 20,000.
It may not, no. But we have to put, I mean, you have to put enough in there to cover what is needed. I mean, honestly, our hotel motel tax should do better in the summer months.
Should I have known that it wasn't 20,000 automatic?
No, you shouldn't have. But I mean, a budget is just an estimate. I mean, that's kind of what we have on all these codes. And
Okay.
especially in June, these are a lot of cleanup work in June. We're trying to
Okay,
make sure we don't have any issues come June 30th.
okay, thank you.
The motion is to approve item 31 as discussed. So I guess we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Aye.
No.
Let's raise our hands just to make sure, okay? All those, raise your hand if you are in favor of the motion. And opposed? Motion fails. Okay.
Okay. 32, 39 through 39 are from the finance department. A lot of them are for other departments, but meaning I did the budget amendment. There are appropriations and transfers. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Motion carries.
Thank you all. And 40 through 45 are from the Sheriff's Department, seeking approval as a group.
Motion to approve is approved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion or questions? Comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign? Motion passes, excuse me.
Thank you. And in 46 is a handout that I gave you with the little, it's a change for EMS. We added more part-time money to this one than the original one. That was the only change for $126,250. It's a transfer through payroll.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion, a second, and a second. Discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the last budget amendment I have is number 47. It's a payroll transfer for the senior center, $6,529 from the part-time code for a projected vacation payout for an employee at the senior center scheduled for June.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Motion, who was the second? I'm sorry.
Shane.
Okay. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the like sign. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you all. Under Section A, grant applications, there is one of those for the Clinton Library. It's an LSTA grant, $7,000. That requires a 50% match, 3,500. The grant's for 3,500. The match will be for 3,500. To replace outdated equipment for staff and public in the way of 6 CPUs.
Do I have a motion?
This is for application only.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion, any questions?
The
Yeah,
county's
Bobby.
part's 3,500.
The count, their part would be 3,500 and the grant's 35.
Where's the 3,500?
It would come from their reserve.
Okay.
Yeah, not from the county. It would come from
I just want to
library.
make sure.
Any other questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Thank you. Under Section B, it's the fleet vehicle report that John Vickery has provided for us. There is a new page. What did I call that? The summary page, I gave you a new copy of that at the beginning because we added a vehicle. I don't know if John wants to let me talk about this or not.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just start preaching, John. So at the last meeting, I had just brought, since we were talking about, leftover ARPA funds, I had brought a list of vehicles for replacement, and it was just a general topic of discussion. And I believe it was Commissioner Mays who asked that I get more detail for the budget committee on what these vehicles were, that maybe we look at, not all of them, but what's the priority. And so what John has done, and that's what he can talk about here, is he's ranked them on which ones is he maintaining the most often, which ones in his view as the fleet manager need to be replaced. And so he can talk to the details on that. Then he also included in there, if the existing vehicle were surplus, what we could anticipate getting back for the county in terms of that. One thing that he doesn't have in there, like on the litter grant van, we cannot use state litter grant funds on the vehicle itself, but litter grant will pay, the state of Tennessee will pay for all the equipment, lighting, the lettering, markings, if we do a wrap on the vehicle, on the van, all of that would be paid for under the litter grant. So I'll let John talk, to any specifics on the vehicles themselves. But we didn't put in front of you any kind of proposal like which ones. That would be up to this committee, and it could be taken up at any time. But I'm just being responsive to, hey, here's the list and here's the priority rankings.
Thanks, Mayor. I should have put you as the.
Well, and Commissioner Mays was the one that asked for the.
But in respect of figuring out which vehicles that I would replace, we created the scoring sheet. It's that one over here, the numbers on it, possible scores you can get. We based it off the mileage the vehicle has. We based it off the maintenance cost of it and the age of it. So to the, far right, the corner, yeah. That's the scoring of them. And there's a couple of them. Well, there's one that scored the highest ranking. So if you go by the scoring in that order, that'd be the way that I would replace those vehicles. Because like I said, it fit the high mileage, or some of them was way over 12 years old, and the cost of maintenance is running high on these things. But if you've got any questions on them, I can try to answer anything for you. We give you maintenance history on these same vehicles also. The current system we have does a better tracking. Our old system really wasn't that well, but so the numbers are a little off on it, but That's as close as we can get to what we spent on those vehicles so far in their life here. Outside of like the old system, it didn't keep up with tires and stuff like that at that point. New system does, so all that's incorporated into it. And the fuel mileage, of course, we don't track none of the fuel on them.
It's a good report.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, question?
John, how quick can you get, if we approve some of these vehicles today, how quick could you get them on the road? And get the other ones sold?
That's a good question.
Yeah, like, what's the time frame of purchasing the vehicle and, cause I see the top one, animal control. You scored it a 12.
Yes.
I don't want people to be calling the mayor's office and be on Facebook and saying, oh, we can't pick up the animals. They get a little mad about that. So I'm just wondering if we approve some of these vehicles today, how quick could you get them here and then surplus the other ones?
At that point, we're at the mercy of Ford. Those we bought last round, we was like total on one of them, we're looking at 18 months for whatever time they build it, time we see it's 18 months.
Yeah.
The F-150s at that time we were told it's 6 months before you ever see them. So, I'm sorry, but so it just depends on what Ford's doing at that time.
Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about. If we keep prolonging some of these vehicles, then it may take us a lot longer to get them. So
Correct.
I'd like to try to get some of these off your list and then see what we can do, you know, later on down the road. But I would probably like to see those top 3 right off the bat. Oh, I thought the one at the top was the worst.
Top is the worst. The highest
That's what I
score, I
thought.
mean,
It's the
it
worst.
scored highest is
Yeah.
bad, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I
The
thought.
lowest scored is better.
I mean, I would like to see some of these come off here because I think, you know, I know trying to replace a window for my vehicle was gonna take forever, and they had one in the US and somebody had bought it right before I could get it. So, you know, I know how the vehicle industry's moving right now. Mayor, do you have any things that you would like to, for us to go first? I mean, I know John's provided this list, but some of these are kind of your departments too, so.
I would really defer to John's recommendations.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's why I asked him, because, you know, he sees them come into the bays and like the safety issues, so that's why I went with his recommendation.
Okay. Give me a minute. Somebody else has some questions.
It's just like,
Gotta
building
get
on what she was saying there.
93, so if we added that solid waste in there, I won't leave Jeff out
While
either.
you're figuring out, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if I could. So Robbie, do you have in your head already some ideas on where you find the funding for this? Outside of ARPA, maybe? Potentially ARPA, but outside of ARPA?
It would be our, well, if we don't use ARPA, then it kind of goes back to the funding.
Yeah, and that was for Commissioner Yeager, by the way. You're welcome.
These guys are in because like solid waste would have to come from the solid waste like fund or the 171 fund, which we do put some pennies there, and
Mhm.
it's not a huge budget, but we could buy a couple of cars out of it. And we have also money in restricted funds there, so I mean it could be 171 or the fund that it originates in. Like the first 2 are general fund, the first 3 are general fund, and then solid waste is fund 116.
I don't know if this makes any difference, Robbie, but looking at our host fee revenue,
Yeah.
we started at 410 because it's based on last year. Through this month, we pulled in 619.
Wow.
And 1 more month to go, so we're probably gonna be 260, 270 over what we had estimated for host fee revenue. That's gonna roll into that reserve
Right.
fund, so we probably have enough money.
Yeah, and I don't announce like solid waste, but they have $503,000 reserve right now. And that's going to increase obviously with what Jeff's speaking about. So they have the money to I mean, y'all would have to, you could approve it from that funds, but yeah, from that funding source. Saber, counting the top 4, it's because the solid waste one is pricey. It's well, It'd be 93 plus 78, 171, 748, 171, 750.
We could take that one out of their.
Their fund,
their
the
fund,
78,
And
so
then we could go,
93.
animal control, maintenance, EMA, and then buildings. We could do those. 1, 2, 3, 4, but approve solid waste as well to come out of theirs.
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we take animal control, maintenance, EMA, buildings out of ARPA funds, and then as well as solid waste to come out of their fund. I think I said it right, Robbie, I don't know, that's a lot.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second?
I'd ask for discussion. Would you amend that and just make it a clean motion, and then we can have a second one for
Sure,
funding?
I'll do that, yeah. So my motion is to take animal control, maintenance, EMA, and buildings to buy vehicles from the ARPA funds.
Oh.
Right,
Oh, I was asking if you just make a motion to approve buying vehicles for all of them, and then we can discuss.
that's what
in
I
a
did.
second. But not using ARPA necessarily, just
Oh.
just that we do it, and then
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve animal control, maintenance, EMA, and buildings,
solid waste.
Yeah, I'll
and
second.
solid waste.
Okay.
Then we'll,
I'll second that.
okay.
Great.
All right, any more questions or comments? Okay. You heard the motion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Who was the second on that? You, Shelley?
Yeah.
So I guess
What was the total on the four?
The total for all that is, I had it. $216,880.
Yes.
Robbie, so obviously the solid waste, that's a great idea. If Jeff, if you're comfortable with that too, I mean, I'm all for it. I see the mayor shaking her head. Are there any of the other 4 that Commissioner Beauchamp has gotten approved? Animal control, county maintenance, EMA, and buildings. Out of those 4, are there potential funds in their reserves that we could use, or at
Well,
least,
that is-
again, going to Commissioner Yeager, maybe do a hybrid, some ARP money and some out of their fund balance, so we,
Those funds are general, all 4
All
of those are
general?
the general fund,
Okay.
unassigned fund balance, yes.
Okay.
Now, sorry. Right here it is. Nope. I lost my little fund balance sheet.
And while he's looking at that, I wanna thank you all for considering this, 'cause- and as early as you did, the contract for the state runs out, I think, September. It'll be a new contract. 2 years ago, we seen a big increase in it. So maybe we can get in before the new increase comes out, if there is one. But thank you guys all for looking at that.
So it'd be general fund, or the only other option would be Fund 171, the capital projects funds, and it does have a fund balance of 427,160.
Yes.
I've always considered vehicles for sheriff, EMS, and in this case, capital funds, not operational. So I really don't mind ARP funds being used in this way, even though I'm not even on this committee. But no, I don't hate this at all. I think it should be done. I like it.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you.
Better now.
I'm glad you could pull yourself out from under the bus, sir.
I was worried.
and you know, that's a good point, because we're not done here, because we still haven't considered EMS, the ambulances, or the sheriff vehicles in next year's budget. So we have those as well, so. But ARPA funds also, since Commissioner Yeager released those funds.
Commissioner Vaughn?
I'll just say our fund to go away soon.
Not a bad idea.
The fund balance will be there.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stephanie may want to speak to this. The vehicle for parks, it's kind of ironic that we start this conversation up after a couple of votes ago, but I would assume that tourism and parks work very closely together. Would there be a legitimate justification for using tourism funds for the vehicle for the parks?
That's something that we can consider. I will say that there is recent legislation that has passed that every county will have to submit a report to the state at the end of the year to the comptroller's office, looking at the tourism funds and how they were specified as being used and how they were used to make sure that they are in compliance, because there are some counties across the state that have been using them in ways that are not specific to the TCA or their private act. So I would really recommend that you ask Jay that question, just to make sure that we're in compliance and that it falls under that category, because it is to be used for tourism and tourism development. And while part of Anderson County Parks production with the Anderson County Park and the campground, I would consider definitely tourism. The other is definitely community. The other parks are community development. So it just be depending on how, this vehicle is used, or,
Sure.
we work great with the parks. We've done a lot of projects up there through tourism. So, I'm not opposed to it. I would just really caution you to, moving forward, getting an opinion on those expenditures, because the TCA does say that if you're not in compliance, then general fund has to pay it back to the tourism fund. So that's just something you may want to consider as you're making these decisions. And again, I would defer to Jay and make sure that, what that definition is.
All right.
So,
Thank you. Could you check on that for us, Robbie?
I can, but
Would you?
I was gonna say, I was under the understanding that only those on the general law had to report to the comptrollers, since we're a private act, Mayor.
the TCA, everything that I've read says every county, every municipality and every county.
I'll check.
Even they're going to be comparing the private acts, because that's what's happened with some of the counties, is that they have private acts and they're not using it the way that the private act says. But
Our private act's very vague.
Yes. Commissioner Wells?
Mayor, do you have comments on Robbie's question directed to you? And also your feelings on potentially what Commissioner Val brought up regarding the purchase of a dump truck?
Well, I'm just going by, I don't have a copy of the legislation, so what we were given at the Tennessee County Services Association said that it requires municipalities and counties levying an occupancy tax pursuant to general law to provide an annual written report. But I did put in front of you a memo that we can get to at some point in time on tourism funds, where I suggest that you try to go to stick to that, although I would defer to the law director on the opinion. So our private act currently says 90% of the funds are designated for and deposited into a tourism fund, and then 10% designated to the Chamber of Commerce for economic development purposes. And probably, I was here for the discussion that you had on that budget amendment. You may even want to get, an opinion on, it says shall be designated for the Chamber of Commerce for economic development purposes. It doesn't really specify the how. So, you might even have leeway, you'd have to talk to your director on maybe a project by project, 10% is set aside. The process the county has been using is it's collected into the tourism fund, it's deposited into the tourism fund as it states in this private act, and then we're just directly writing a check. So there may be some more, even under the current structure, there may be more controls that you all could put in place as commission on that 10%. But on the 90%, the private act doesn't get into, it just says it goes into a tourism fund. And then when it gets into the portion that talks about how it's spent, it says shall be allocated to and placed in the tourism fund to be used for the purposes stated in section 3, which section 3 goes right back to the paragraph above. It just kind of points back to itself and says it goes into the tourism fund. And, but, my own, I'm not an attorney, that's why I say a couple times in my memo to you, consult with Jay on this. But it would be my personal opinion that tourism, if you look at the definition of tourism, it would be what commission says is tourism related. Although I'm encouraging you to kind of stick to what the state interprets tourism as. And in that regard, I'm sorry, it says tourism means attracting non-residents to visit a particular municipality and encouraging those non-residents to spend money in the municipality, which includes travel related to both leisure and business activities. Then the tourism development side of things means the acquisition and construction of and financing and retirement of debt for facilities related to tourism. And you've done some of those already, you know, even this year. So I don't know if I helped clarify anything or not on that. But I mean, my opinion, again, I'd go to your law director, but I think under the Private Act, it's pretty much if you all can draw the definition to, we think this is tourism related, so.
Shane?
For my benefit, we've been going back and forth. Can we restate?
I wanted to say one more thing about.
I hope you wrote it down.
I have it. Shane, on the Parks vehicle, I think, or the is dump truck. John we're getting that one repaired, right?
Yes.
We're able to get that one repaired. It's not working right now, but we're sending it out to get it repaired for a few more years, hopefully. So, but that was a good question. Anyway, the motion was to fund the first 5 vehicles on the list, totaling $216,880. The solid waste vehicle out of solid waste $78,378, and the other 4 out of ARPA funds $99,741.
That was my motion.
I don't know if that's exact amount.
And we had a second. Yeah, we haven't voted yet, have we?
No.
Okay. I lost track of it. Okay, you've heard the motion. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That other 4 is 170,281, by the way, not 99. I left off one. So, out of ARPA. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Did we vote?
My brain is gone.
We voted and everything.
Yeah, we voted,
Moving
yes.
on. All right, next thing up is the fiscal year 24-25 budgets. I put just the estimated fund balance report on here. And the second page I added was just the ratio letter from the state. I know I've talked about that a lot this year, so I wanted y'all to see that. And where it was official. And there are a couple of, I know the budgets have all passed, but there are a couple of motions that I need, that I usually get every year for budget purposes. And one is that the finance director is authorized to make small changes to the budget if needed. A lot of times when I go in and start building the budget book, I notice just a few little things that are wrong, and I just want to make sure that I don't make a change that it's not authorized, but, you know, it's not nothing major. We're not changing any budget numbers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and the second thing that I'm interested in is, right now we have a lot of grants in our budget that we've been carrying for years, like the CDBG water grant that we've done a little bit on, but those grants usually move forward to the next year. They don't affect the budget as far as the surplus or deficit. It's the same revenue for the same expenditures. I just want permission to add those kind of grants to the budget as well in June when we get the bottom line number, that I can go ahead and have those in, because a lot of times in July we don't have a budget meeting, so that would delay till August if we didn't get those in the budget as far as any spending any funds. And I think several of them are close to being ready to go here, so just add those budgets to
You
the.
want a motion?
Yes, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And Nathan has one budget discussion item for himself that he texted me about previously.
Yes, so thank you for coming before you again. I'm not asking to increase any money, so go ahead and start with that. I'm not asking to use ARPA funds, or I would have cleared it with Commissioner Yeager before I came up here. But one thing we did submit in our budget request that does not have a fiscal impact for next fiscal year, but it does the following years, and it was something very similar to what we have done for last year with ACSO and having performance evaluations that could get a medical personnel a pay raise. So they have instituted that this year. I've had some discussions with some of their staff about that, and we did propose trying to do something similar for our medical personnel, none of our administrative personnel. And looking and reviewing and considering and even talking with Mayor Frank, I believe that was left off of my request in our discussion previously for EMS because it did not have any impact on the next fiscal year, but it would following years potentially. So I did want to bring that back up. It's my impression that is left off, and that's how I would have acted if we move forward. So that's why I want to come back before you. It is something we would like to do. We call it a key performance indicators. There are certain specific things that employees would have to do to achieve a raise that they could get in the following fiscal years. It does cap it. We currently have a 20-step fee structure. We would change to a 15-step fee structure. And once you tap to the top, there's no performance indicators that you could get after that. And basically, whatever the county gets, then that's what that employee would get as well. So very similar, not identical to the Sheriff's Department, but a lot of our stuff wasn't what I would call a traditional evaluation of a supervisor filling it out on an employee. It was basically several items that the employee had to achieve or didn't. If they did not achieve them, they don't get it. Plain and simple. It's a yes or no. Did it happen or did it not happen? So I'm more than happy to share what those key performance indicators are. Several of them are performance-based. Talks about their quality assurance score, which is when we review some of their tickets after a call, did they meet the measures that they're supposed to meet? Did they document that appropriately? They have to have a CQI score for the year, 12 months of 90% or higher. So we sat down and looked at this and said, this can't be easy to achieve. These are for our high performers that are putting in the work. Now, I will tell you as an administrator, and I believe you guys would probably feel the same way, I would love it if high performers were 100% of your staff, especially when you start talking about public safety personnel, right? So I'm not sitting here saying that I believe this is going to be only like 5% of our staff. I wouldn't feel good about that, but I think it's going to be closer to about 40-45% of our staff. What does that look like? You would see with pay and benefits, you could see potentially increasing the payrolls about $45,000 on the year for all pays and benefits if we were to implement this. Again, no impact to next fiscal year, but the following fiscal years it would impact. I can't tell you for sure it's going to be that much. More than happy to report back to this body as it progresses along with that on how many people are achieving that, but they've got to achieve it for 12 months. And it has to be all 12 months of the fiscal year. So if we have an employee that's hired in August, they don't have a chance to achieve it because they'll have to be here for 12 months, the full 12 months of the fiscal year. So that is how we plan to run the program, monitor the program. Traditionally, EMS, we've been running about a 20% turnover on a fiscal year. That's quite a bit less than the national average. National average is about 30%. So we've done better, but that means right there you're going to have 20% of our staff that automatically aren't going to qualify because they're not going to be here by the end of that fiscal year. So I did want to present that to you, saying that it does not impact this budget that we are approving and we will approve coming into, but it would have an impact on future years for our staff. But it gives me the, when we start talking about the pay increases, which I'm very thankful that this body has bought into that, and our staff and our medical personnel. A lot of I get from our high performers is I put in a lot of extra work and I do a good job, but I'm getting paid like everyone else. I'm getting paid like our lowest performer. And they asked me, how do I get a raise? I said, you get a raise when county commission approves of getting a raise. That's how you get a raise. And for this, it puts it in the hands of our employees to say, if you want to earn a raise, you're going to have to go above and beyond. You're going to have to go over what the bare minimum is. You know, it talks about training. You have to do 56 hours of continuing education training, approved continuous education training. We only do about 36 for most other personnel. So they have to do more. So I just wanted to present that to you all. I do believe for me to implement it, for my staff to go and start July 1, I believe it would have to be approved. It was something I'd have to tell them, hey, you do this, you get this raise, and that has to really come from this body and from commission if we do that. So that's, I'm asking, can we do that?
Did we not have a meeting?
No, not for the performance. I don't think we discussed that as far as, that might have been on his page, and if that's already.
You presented it to us, right?
I've included it, but
Yeah,
when we passed the budget, I don't think we had that in the language saying that this was approved. With the pay raises were approved, but you had the pay raises, we had longevity pay, which we did not go forward. We had the degree payment, we did not go forward, and then this was also on there. So
I thought we approved that.
I didn't.
Because he brought it to us and.
Well, it wasn't specific in the motion as far as, I mean, if we.
I don't think we did.
Could go ahead and make another motion to approve if you.
I'm pretty sure we did. But I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, we have a motion.
I feel like we did
Do we
that.
have a second?
I'll second it, but I think it's a great idea.
Yes, Commissioner Baum?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand the concept. I kind of thought, I remember it being discussed at some point.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
I thought
I'm
we
getting a
voted on
little memory loss. I'll blame it on my heart condition, but I think I had it long before my heart condition. I would like to make a couple of comments though on what Director Sweet said, and I've been guilty of saying the same thing to employees down through the years. You get a raise when county commission funds it. That's maybe sort of true. What was meant by that was county commission sets the budget.
correct.
That's what we do. Department heads for history of Anderson County, and Robbie can probably attest to this, department heads have the authority within their budgets to give pay raises. So in the past, we probably weren't apprised very often of justifications for some pay raises in some departments. Would I be correct in saying that, Robbie? What a process like this does is it actually puts, I'll say, a burden on the department heads to keep up with the quality of work that they are getting from their employees, so that when a decision is made, this employee needs a pay raise, the department head is standing up saying, yes, he does, yes, she does, and here's why. It is so easy as a department head to say, you know, I ain't got nothing to do that. You know, we don't have the money until county commission, you know, does something. And to an extent, that's kind of a misnomer. But I appreciate Director Sweet wanting to take the responsibility, like Sheriff Barker did last year, and say, I'll take the responsibility for doing that. I'll take the responsibility of deciding specifically which one of my employees within the budget needs a pay raise. So I commend you for wanting to do that.
Yeah.
And I will warn you, it might be a little more difficult task than what some of your command staff thinks,
Yeah.
but I think it is worth it in the long run.
Well, and I will say, many of the things that are on here, we already track. So I'm not adding a tremendous amount. It's got in there, you can't have any reprimands. We track reprimands.
Yep.
I mean, they go on files. So, training hours, we have to track all that. We have to report it to the state. So a lot of this stuff is stuff that we track already. It's giving that designation for me, giving an employee a pay raise. needs to have standards for how they're getting that, so when the next person up comes and asks for it, I can measure it. Did you do what they did? And then I can give you that to be fair to our staff. Because we know, especially public safety, I mean, it's just widely talked about of what are you doing, who's involved here, who's involved there, and what opportunities they get.
Yes.
So I am a little confused. I also thought that we had discussed this. So what is the impact to the budget?
There won't be one this year.
Okay.
It would be for the 25.
It'll be next year.
26 budget season.
Okay, okay, next fiscal year.
45,000 possible
next.
benefits. Exactly.
Okay, okay.
45,000 would be top.
Would be for, that's what Nathan projected
Well,
possible.
that is my educated guess. Yes, sir.
And that would be for salary and benefits, you're saying?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't have a very good recollection of our discussion about this, but if we gave a 4% raise,
Yes.
this would be, the funding for this program would be over and above.
It would,
For
and
the
it's
four-
very similar to how we did with the merit raises for SO. If they got a merit raise, they also get the 4%.
Okay.
It's in addition to, and that's why we have designated this is just our medical personnel, no admin personnel. I don't get this, no admin personnel gets this. It is for, that's the area I need to recruit, is the paramedics that are on the truck. This is an opportunity for me to go and recruit to a paramedic and say, hey, if you come in and you excel at a high level, 10 years from now, this is what you could make. Right now, I really don't have that threshold. You know, what do I need to do to achieve that pay? I can point it out to them, say, you put in the effort, you can be here. If not, County Commission has been gracious. The 15 years I've been director, there's only 1 year we did not do a pay raise. I mean, 1 year we did 0.5%. So, you know, but pay raises have come most years. So you're probably going to see an increase most years. But this is, if you want to put in the effort and do more, you can guarantee you'll have one.
We had a motion.
So
and
what is the motion again? I'm
To
sorry.
approve performance raises for EMS.
Okay.
He's
The
implementing the plan July 1st, but it will not, the pay will not go into effect till the next budget year. So
Correct.
he just
Gotcha.
wanted you all to be
Gotcha
aware.
now.
And this
Okay.
probably was on his sheet, but I don't think we
It
formally
was.
discussed it as far as
Okay.
in budget.
I guess
Commissioner Wells?
I love the idea. I mean, just as a business owner, that's absolutely what you want. You don't want to give people raises just because they've been there. I'm just a little hesitant at this moment today, just coming before us asking. It's not on our agenda. I'm going to vote no today.
Sure.
I would be in support of potentially next month bringing this up and saying, yes, I'm with it. But I would also, again, personal speaking, I'd want to see a caveat of a 1 year trial, because we're opening a door that we don't know what we're walking into with this. And we realize your budget, you're not a revenue producing department, but your budget's been so tight. Just in the year I've been on here, I'm watching, and we're fixing to pass a deficit budget this year. So to think, all right, we're going into 2025's budget next year, we're already adding more of a deficit before we know what we're looking at for future. So I'm going to vote no today, but I do love the idea, and I do want to see this move forward in some way.
And I wouldn't stand up here and say I'm opposed to a 1 year trial. I mean, that's better than no year trial. Obviously, we would love to have it continuous, but if that's the route that the committee or commission would be more favorable with, then we could do that as well.
Commissioner Val?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me speak again on that. Commissioner Wells brings up a good point. And I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're requesting correctly. You start the evaluations July 1. You base it on what? Anniversary employment date, something like that, or how would you
Nope, it'd be
determine when
fiscal
to evaluate each employee?
It's the entire fiscal year.
Okay.
It starts July 1, ends June 30.
So everybody would get an evaluation on July 1, where you would set the goals for them to accomplish before June 30th?
Right, and the goals are being accomplished pretty much every single day.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And the reason why I ask that is the way we do it is on employment date.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time, just like you said, we set the goals. Here's where we think you need to improve. and we'll look at this next
Sure.
year. If they accomplish the goals by next year, okay, then they may qualify for that raise. If you did it that way, then you wouldn't need the extra funding until the following year's budget, right?
Right. So,
Okay.
so for us, it starts July 1, ends June 30th. They wouldn't get it until July of the next fiscal year.
So you're talking
Of the-
July of 25,
25. July
starting
25.
it.
That's, no, July 25 is when they would get their raise. So they have to
Next budget cycle,
perform.
we're gonna have to add additional
Gotcha.
funding.
So then
Okay.
I'd have to come to you and report to the budget, and I would know how many people have already been disqualified.
Well, then going with Commissioner Wells' idea then, maybe it would be best to wait and maybe see this on paper and have a better idea of how much we're talking instead of maybe dealing with it today. I didn't think about that until you
Yeah.
mentioned that. That's,
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Thank you. I guess thinking about it that way too, I don't wanna give false hope. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's gonna happen next year. I don't wanna put this out there and then next year not be able to fund it.
I think you get a better
So-
picture of what we're looking at.
So I think if we had some kind of plan, an estimate.
I'll just
better
say I
estimate.
like the idea very much.
I love the idea.
Yeah. And, maybe waiting until we have a little firmer information on cost and so on. I know you've already talked about that, but,
And we did submit it.
yeah.
It was submitted in the budget documents, so the numbers were submitted.
So you're
So
saying,
this isn't necessarily first time I've presented or talked about it, but this is the first time I'm coming back because I wasn't under the impression this was not included.
my concern is if we wait, he wants to start July 1st, right, with the program, and if we wait till July or August to approve the program, I mean, he's losing a couple months, possibly a couple months of collecting data. Well, I mean, I guess he can go ahead and
still
collect.
collect the data.
Okay, still collect the data, yeah, but,
You could always do it prorated and do a 6-month adjustment and not do the total bonus. It could be, yeah, I mean, there's ideas to start this before next budget cycle.
And I do want to emphasize the bonus was not my word.
Well, I'm sorry to use
Yeah.
bonus, but a pay raise,
Yeah.
okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second to go ahead with the program starting July 1, impacting next fiscal year, yeah. Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No,
Motion fails.
Thank you.
But I would encourage, I think we are all saying it sounds,
absolutely.
The motion failed.
the motion failed, yeah.
What was the count?
3-3.
3-3,
Oh.
yeah.
And we got 3
I heard a lot of ayes, I didn't.
Can I
We do
ask
too,
you
Jim.
another question here? Or not, or a comment? Some of us were up in Gatlinburg for the county services meeting.
Yes, sir?
And Senator Yeager was there and spoke. Several people spoke up and said that the ambulance services was having a really tough time budget-wise, the impact.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that he had a bill that he had submitted, and I don't know how far it got. It didn't get passed.
Correct.
But what that bill would have done was make TennCare pay the same amount as Medicare for certain ambulance services.
Correct. Convalescent
Are you
calls.
familiar with that? And
Yes, sir.
How would that have an impact on
I would believe that would have raised our revenue about 35,000. Yeah, so it was for non-emergency convalescence, so it's like your dialysis, scheduled calls, discharges, and those patients that are covered by TennCare. It would raise the TennCare rate up to the Medicare fee schedule. Whereas right now they're only 67.5% of the Medicare fee schedule.
Well, I don't know, I know it didn't get passed in this last
That's correct.
legislature. But I think he intends to push it forward here for the next session. So 35,000 is 35. Yeah.
I completely agree, and the tough part, and you bring it up on the budget side, billing is volatile. And there are certain things that you can bill for, and there are certain things you can't bill much for. I'll give you a prime example, because I know we're on a call today, that I actually went to the same residence yesterday, and we were there on June 2nd. We were there 6 times in May. We've been there over 20 times this year to this call, to this individual. Most of the time they don't get transported. They don't manage their health care. We go out, we treat them, we give them medications, we perform skills. Matter of fact, thankfully, Sheriff Barker and ACSO has to respond because this patient's violent. And we have to physically restrain this person. They get medication they need, they come back around, they refuse transport. We bill him $100. To this day, he has not paid a cent. But we can't refuse going out there. And we have to use medication, and we have to use resources. Matter of fact, there was first responder with Andersonville was assaulted by this person. A sheriff's deputy was assaulted by this person. You know, we're going to be put in those positions, and we're not going to get paid for those. But we have to go.
Okay.
We have to provide that care. So it's volatile, you know.
I just wanted to be sure you were aware.
Yeah. No, I am. And Mayor Frank actually played a good part in that. She spoke with Senator Yeager on that specific legislation, and she worked very hard. We worked very hard to try and get it passed. And I believe his words were, it actually made it farther than he kind of thought initially. So that gives him tremendous hope for the coming years to get that legislation passed.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to sum up the budget process, all the budgets have passed. Commission meeting on the 17th of this month. I'm not sure it's the 17th. I think it is. We'll come before commission now that we've had the public hearing. If we don't pass it, if something happens and it does not get passed on the 17th, there is a special called meeting for the 24th already that's been advertised. So to try to get it passed in June. But do y'all have any questions for me about the budget as far as where we're at or any? Okay. All right. The next thing on the agenda is in section D is a code 207 sweep. We haven't done this in quite a while, but our 263 fund has been really healthy. This year we did have to increase the employees' portion of what they pay for benefits by 2%. We have $1 million fund balance policy that was approved by the Finance Committee and Commission and right now we're at $720,843, which it's going to be even lower because I put a summary financial statement and you can see that we're $845,000. We have spent more than revenue, although we just put in $370,000, so that's more like $400,000 to $500,000. But this fund needs money, and so what happens is all the codes in the general fund and other funds, we budget in 207. What's left over, if commission approves this, then we can sweep that into the 263 fund. What I have that would be available at the end of the year would be $218,252. If we could approve that, that would go into the 263 fund. That would help with, funding those. We're self-funded, so whatever it would fund the benefit plan for next year. We had a bad year. We thought we were going to have a good year, but we did not. So I'm looking for more ways to get money in that fund, other than the employees, and this is one way of doing it. It's rollover money, but that would just be designated to the 263 fund. But I'd need a motion from this committee, and it would have to pass in the commission level too as well. So, do y'all understand what I'm?
Yes.
Okay.
I was about to make the motion.
Shane's probably seen that.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Val?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if I need to go ahead and make the declaration in this particular matter, but I've gotten to where I'm getting a little paranoid, so I guess it'd probably be okay just to go ahead and make it anyway. The declaration stating that I am a county employee, and I do take the county insurance, which to Commissioner Wells' points from last time, some county commissioners are on the county commission or on the county insurance as well, so I don't know if it's even necessary or not, but just in case somebody asks, it's me.
Duly recognized. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No? Okay.
Thank you. And the last thing on the list
That
is new
wasn't a
business.
no vote, that was, I was asking for a no.
The last thing is the 5 budget amendments on under new business. If I could get
Motion approved.
approved,
All as a group,
that's fine.
second.
Discussion, questions? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's it. Thank you all very much.
Anything, is that it? Okay, I guess we're adjourned. Thank you.